This episode of Q Point Podcast is pre-recorded, produced and sponsored by Karina Quirk, broker at Next Home Experience.
Different views.
I know your story.
From different Q's.
Incredible job.
He's David Quirk.
You brought it up.
And she's Karina Quirk.
Imagine.
This is
Q Point.
Thank you for joining us for part 2 with Senator Joe Baldacci and former Maine Senate President and gubernatorial candidate Troy Jackson. So, Troy, what are your thoughts on passenger rail?
Yeah, I think we're losing opportunity. You get a lot of people across the state that talk about the environmental benefits of EVs, but never once talk about trains. We can't mandate, nor should we mandate everyone in the state have electric vehicles. I'm okay with subsidy for people to buy them, but why wouldn't we want to try and see where you could have a train coming into Portland or Bangor where people could get off the train? The parking in Portland is really challenging. Go to work, have some other opportunity bus or whatever, get around there and then get back on the train, go home. That seems to me to make a lot of sense. That cures a lot of the environmental problems that people are complaining about. I don't think we can do that all across the state, obviously. I don't think you're going to see a train up in my home of Allagash anytime soon. But in the more urban parts of Maine, I think we should be looking at that and seeing what we could do to help. And like I said, in a place like Portland, I think that would make a lot of sense, getting a lot of the traffic off, easing up on a lot of the parking. And again, for the people that are so concerned about the environment, which, I certainly am, this is a way to help cure some of that. Every time we've had an opportunity to actually get money from the federal government, we weren't shovel ready. Well, it's just holding the state back, and that's why Joe's been fighting for this for a long time, and I agree with him. This could be a good opportunity for people.
Yeah, I would just say that the votes on this were bipartisan. What you saw was an interesting alliance of Democrats from north of Augusta with Republicans from north of Augusta versus people who were from south of Augusta.
They already have the train.
They already have the train. And Senator Guerin supported it. A couple of other Republican senators supported it. They understand how it would affect their local communities. I'm going to keep fighting for it and see where we go.
Though, again, that's about putting people around a table. And if you live in Mercer County, you need people from Southern Maine to come on board. When I needed people for McCrum, when I needed people to help me out with Twin Rivers, I'd worked to get the expansion of IDEX down in Westbrook. It was actually Paul LePage that asked me to sponsor that bill. And I said, gladly. People wondered, why would you do that? And I always had in the back of my mind, it's good for Maine. And there'll be a time that I'll be able to come to somebody and say, well, I helped you with IDEX. Could you help me? And that's exactly what happened with McCrum. Whenever I needed that, people around the table, I said, I sponsored IDEX. I know it was good for Maine, but this McCrum bill is definitely going to be good for Maine too. In my mind, that's about leadership, bringing people around. Yes, it's a different part of the state, but we're all one state here. And the only way we're going to be better as a whole is if we all do well. And I feel very strongly about that. Yes, I'm from Allagash, Maine, but I care about Portland. I care about Bangor. I got people from my family all across this state. And if you're governor of the state of Maine, it's about caring about the whole state of Maine, and I do. There's not one part of the state that I don't want to be better off than the rest. And Washington County is distressed. I go down there, it feels just like home. We need to do better for all of the state, and that's why passenger rail for me makes sense, even though I'm probably not going to ride it home to Allagash, but I'll ride it, I guarantee you.
Troy, you've been in the legislature. You've served for 20 years in the past. Do Democrats in the southern part of the state differ in their views or priorities compared to those in the northern part?
There may be a difference in some of the things that we deal with or some of the ways we come at things, but I think the Democratic Party feels different to some extent than when I first joined. What made me want to be a Democrat 22 years ago was, again, economic issues, fighting for health care, fighting for prescription drugs. Where I am up in Mercer County, around the border, I look into Canada, see people there that don't have issues with prescriptions and things like that. It's been something I fought for a lot in the legislature, and that's a big part of why I wanted to run for the legislature. But now I don't hear people talking about those things like they used to. And I think it's a big part of the problem with the Democrats. We've kind of lost that message of fighting for working class people. And I won't say that they're not fighting for them, but you don't hear them talking about those issues like they did whenever I joined. And I think if we want to get working class people back, we have to start talking about it. We have to start going down that road like we used to and making people feel like we're in their corner. again, that's not to say that that's not what's in people's hearts, but I don't believe that it's a single-minded focus that it used to be years ago. Joe's brother John was running for Congress, and whenever he became governor, and that's when I first started in the legislature. I mean, I was naive as hell. Forgive me for language, but I didn't know anything about the parties back then. But I got on the labor committee and started in the legislature. I knew what my core things were. I started seeing who was fighting for what. It was a big thing for me in the logging industry. We had blocked the border back in 98 because it was a big deal that everyday workers, guys like my dad that owned a truck all their life, got a fair shot. I still feel that way. I think there's a lot of unfairness in the logging industry, and we're not talking to those people like we used to, and it's unfair. It's not right, and I think that's a big part of whoever's next governor needs to reach out to the lobster industry, the farmers, the loggers, the blueberry industry. That's still a big part of Maine. There's still opportunity there. You go to University of Maine in Orono here with Habib. We got a great opportunity here still in Maine with those industries, and we should be doing more. And if I get to pull this off, I'm going to be doing more because I feel strongly that we still got great days ahead in the state, and I'm going to make sure it happens.
I just want to say that on a lighter note, when I asked my brother John a couple of years ago, what is Troy Jackson like? He goes, well, let me just say, the first time I met him, he was blocking an international border. And from there, it could only improve. And Troy loves that stuff. And John says it with complete deadpan sense of humor. But yeah, Troy stands up for what he believes in. And the reason I'm supporting him is because I've seen his work, but I also feel he can talk to Democrats in Kittery. You can talk to Democrats in Madawaska and Eastport and Lewiston and make us feel part of one state. And that's what has to be done. I made a point on one of my posts on Facebook to talk about why we've not elected first district liberals to state office. But that's not like a new theory. I mean, if you go back and look at what was a professor from Bowdoin, Podholm, had written extensively about these type of things. There was a reason that the people that got elected were Olympia Snow, Jock McKernan, who was in the first district, but he was not a liberal, or Joe Brennan, who ran more as a moderate. The first district has done a great deal, is strong economy, strong Democratic base. But I think that we have to have a candidate who speaks to the whole state. And I think for the Democratic Party, that's key. And that's why I'm supporting Troy. I think he can do that better than the others.
So, Troy, you were the Senate president, and then you turned out. What made you decide after that point that, hey, I think I might run for governor?
Well, you know, this whole thing has been quite a journey. When I was 29 years old, standing up at the border, trying to make it better for myself and my colleagues in the logging industry, I never thought I was going to run for the legislature. That's for damn sure. And whenever I did get the idea to run, I was an independent. I got down here in the legislature. After a while, I switched to be a Democrat. I got the honor of being a chair of a committee, decided to run for the Senate. I was in there for a while. Paul LePage became governor. I served 8 years through there. It's been a long, long journey to get to the point where guys like Joe Baldacci say, yeah, I'll support you to be Senate president. It was a huge honor. We worked on a lot of stuff together, and Joe can tell you that I saw that as a group of people working together on policy together. I'm not a top-down approach type of guy, but what drove me to want to become governor is I just see a lot of Maine feeling like they've been left behind. I know for a fact I drive more than any legislator from Augusta, University County. I mean, I got 340,000 miles on my van. I'm watching people that feel like Augusta is broke, and it isn't really, but it could do better. It definitely could do better. I know it could do better. Joe knows it can do better. It has to have people that understand what it's like to be froze to death in February, out there working on an old machine, trying to get it going so you can get back in and warm up. It has to understand what it's like to drop your kids off and be worried all day long how they're going to be. Or even, do you have somebody to drop your kids off so you can go to work, so you can pay your bills? That's the type of urgency that I feel. Those of us that have to work for a living feel, and I just don't see that enough in government. And that's why I want to do this, because I know that we can have a government that is more understanding of the people of Maine. I really feel that. And I just know that we can do better in the state, and we can be more open, not that top-down approach that I felt I've had so many bills vetoed by all of the governors. Not John. I think John only vetoed one of my bills. But
I think he only vetoed 7
yeah,
in his whole
exactly.
term.
Yeah.
So the next 2 governors outdid that quite a bit, both of them.
It's just there's more opportunity. And if you don't understand what it's like for everyday working class people, and that's business owners just as well, then that's what happens in government. And like I said, I'm certainly a worker and I'm certainly a small business owner. And that's why I think it takes someone like me to bring that type of change to state government. I've been involved in it. I've saw the pitfalls. When we talk about property tax reform, I mean, I was there. You had Joe Perry on here. Joe's a great guy.
Super nice guy.
Yeah, he is. I was there when Joe was trying to put together something to go after taxes, to bring down property taxes for homeowners. I know why it fell apart, but now we're in a situation where I read a report where we're the highest state in the nation for second homeowners, out-of-state second homeowners. That's blowing up our valuation. People that came in here and saw a great opportunity to buy homes, and they're not even living in them. They maybe come here for a week or 2, and they paid a lot of money, and that's okay. But those of us that do live here are paying high property taxes because they came in here and drove valuations up. Well, we can do something about that, but we have to be willing to sit down and figure that out. And I don't see that urgency. I really don't. But I feel it, and that's what I'm going to do something about.
I do recall there was a bill. It didn't fly. And just so you know, I'm a realtor. Real estate is my industry.
Sure.
I'm on the Maine Association of Realtors Legislative Committee. I did see a bill that came up trying to raise taxes on a second home. And I'm sure I inundated Joe to vote against it. The reason I don't think it passed was because we all know that a lot of Mainers have a camp, right?
Right.
Yep.
And it was given to them by generational, and to increase property taxes on Mainers is just not okay.
Yep.
Right.
And that's just exactly what happened back then with LD1. I think it was back in 2005. But there is probably a way to look at something for out-of-state people that have bought second homes. And that, I think, is something we could at least talk about compared to somebody that has a home up in Millinocket Lake or second camp, like you said. And I agree with that 100%. That is Maine. That is the life that we have here. The people that have a camp that, who knows, maybe it's $20,000, $25,000, maybe it's $100,000, who cares? But that is our life here.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. I think the people we want to protect are the ones who qualify for the homestead exemption.
Right.
Because it's a principal residence. That means they live there. And so we can do something.
Exactly.
As long as we focus on those people, because that's the vast majority of Mainers. And then we don't have to tell the out-of-staters we're discriminating against you. We're just going to focus on those in their primary residence homes.
But then again, their secondary residence could be a camp that they had.
Yeah, but we're not going to be affecting that. But in terms of controlling the valuation issue, it should be controlled for the people in their primary residence. I think any discussion is going to have municipalities understand, and this goes back decades. One thing we don't talk about, because it got a bad rap, is consolidation of services and regionalization.
You mean like superintendents?
Oh, I heard about that one. No. Yes, exactly. But that's a real issue if we're talking municipal property taxes. 5 fire departments in a 20-mile radius or whatever. I'm just saying that people don't want to have that discussion, and I respect that. But in order to talk about property taxes, you're going to have a real discussion about that issue as well, particularly where we're going to get into demographic issues. So I have identified myself sometimes on the floor of the Senate as the skunk at the tea party, but somebody has to do that because we need to look at all the issues. And that really, the municipalities are going to have to come across and understand that this is an issue and that they can't just expect Augusta by itself to solve the problem.
Yeah, and I agree with Joe there, but I've been endorsed by Maine Realtors every time I ran for legislature. So 100% I understand what you're talking about. But I believe that Mainers have to get some relief here, and we have to look at a creative way to figure that out. And I agree with you that you're 100% right. That's exactly what always stopped us. And I voted against them because I don't own a camp, but I don't want people that own camps to be targeted like that because that's iconic Maine. But there's got to be a way that we can, I don't want to call it go after, but at least target out-of-state people that only come here once or twice a year And God bless them. We definitely want them here. We want tourism and all that. But I think, for the amount of money that they've spent and everything, it's probably not going to be something that's really going to bother them an awful lot. But we need to give that relief to people that live here that are seeing these dramatic swings in property taxes. And it's really affecting, you had talked about education, the valuation and what the state's given for education too. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people in higher areas that are not seeing education money flow like it used to because their valuation has risen so dramatically. And that's not right either. So there's a lot of work to do on that. And I just think that we actually have to sit down and do the work.
You've been listening to Q Point Podcast. I'm Karina Quirk, co-hosting with my husband, David Quirk, and we are having a conversation with Maine State Senator Joe Baldacci and former Maine Senate President and gubernatorial candidate Troy Jackson.
On the campaign trail, as you go into all these different areas, what's the number one topic of concern?
When I start out and talk about the economic security, I see people immediately start shaking their head in agreement. It really is something, and this is something I felt deeply in my core that we were missing the mark on, and I can see the self-assurance in people. But when I start talking to people more in Southern Maine, that is definitely something that I see them warming up to. But I also, the valuations and the property taxes is something that I think they're feeling even more strongly, which was no shock with some of the people from Massachusetts, New York, the proximity to Southern Maine coming in. So that's what we talk a lot about. And, they've certainly given me a lot of great ideas about that. I think another thing, I think a lot of people probably didn't think going into this race with the people I'm running against that I'd be viable. I showed them that I hustled. I did everything I could. I showed them that I could raise money.
You certainly did in the first quarter, right?
Yeah.
It was over 400,000?
It was. And
yeah.
I mean, that's like
not chump change.
It's like 10 times my salary. So, yeah. But we raised it from like 5,000 people across the state of Maine. So the next closest was Shannon with 1,000. So we got a lot of people that have come out to support us. And I think that just goes to show that people are looking for something different. And I know that a logger from Allagash is something different. Joe knows. I mean, I might talk funny. I might act a little different than a lot of normal politicians, but I've been there a long time.
We call him Johnny Cash from the Allagash.
Oh,
There
that's
you
a
go. I like that.
But my heart is in this, and I really do want people, at every stripe to do better in the state. And I know it's possible. We definitely have a lot of opportunity, and I just feel like we're leaving a lot on the table.
I think the other key thing is people want leaders that listen and that are willing to adapt their thinking and to realize that sometimes you're going to need different solutions than what you might first have thought. So we got to have people that are willing to say, that didn't work. Let's try something else. I mean, that's any good leader does that, and that's what sets them apart because they're willing to adapt. And I think that's really key, and I think that's a quality that Troy has, and I know others have. But I think that you got to listen to people and then be willing to act.
Can you tell me about this wall that's being built around the Blaine house?
Well,
Where did that come from?
I do know that it's benefiting a local contractor, the Giles Company. I talked to Kyle O'Connell, who works for Giles Company, and they're building it. So they're happy about it, but I'm assuming it came from security reasons. Yeah, it's a little bit disconcerting because it's never been there, that type of thing before. It kind of sets people off. Senator Jackson, you might have more insight into the issue than I do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was on legislative council for a long time, so that was a recommendation that came out for security, and certainly things have changed over a long time. I mean, when I first started, we didn't even have security at the State House, and there was people I knew that was carrying guns in the State House, and it changed. Governor LePage wanted security. They put it in, and it's probably, well, it's not probably, it is for the better because things are definitely different now. So that wall that's being built was something that actually came about, I think, in 2017 from a plan that was put together. It was under Governor LePage, not by Governor LePage, but it was under his term. I don't know why it's taken so long to actually get started. So
It'll be there ready for you.
Well, I kind of joked about that, but yeah, I mean, I've never felt very concerned when I went in the State House, but some people have, and I've taken that very seriously, and especially over in the Cross building because there is no security. We have, I say we, I'm not there anymore, but there's guards walking through there. And there's been some big hearings. Joe's been in committee. He's had some very big hearings, people very animated. Well, obviously, the legislature deals some high-profile issues, and there's some people that are very upset, concerned, and things like that, and sometimes it gets out of hand. And there's some people over there that are working there that have to deal with people that unfortunately sometimes get a little bit more animated than,
they can really get high-pitched and are hard to talk to. And fortunately, we really have had relatively few incidents. This is more the rarity. But we're in there without security in that building. And so we have to rely on the better angels of our nature to show up and just be respectful for each other. And I think the only thing we can do as legislators, other than having improved security, is try to impress upon people, regardless of who they are or what party they come from, that as legislators, we'll respect the process. We need you to respect the process so that we can at least get our work done.
I would like to ask you, Troy, another bill that was held until January is for local police to be able to participate or communicate with ICE. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if police know that there's somebody here that has broken the law or something like that, especially sex trafficking, that's something that has to be dealt with. There's just no dealing with that. But at the same time, if I'm governor, I'm not going to let people's constitutional rights be trampled on. I'm not going to have people just taken without due process. I won't stand for that. And so I feel very strongly that there has to be a legal process for someone to be detained. I'm not sure how that's actually going to come forward. I don't know at this point how things have been happening. I have no insight into what's been going on. No one's been contacting me, obviously. But we need people to be in the state legally. There's no doubt about it. We need people to be here in Maine. We need a state that's welcoming to legal immigrants. At the same time, people have due process, and that's something I feel strongly about, that we're just not going to have people be trampled upon and detained without any legal rights.
So I just wanted to say, from a technical perspective, the bill, first of all, I think it's going to get vetoed anyway, but I think the bill went through so many revisions that people on both sides were honestly unclear as to what it was going to do. Essentially, it would limit local police could cooperate with ICE in every circumstance, except if their primary goal was simply about immigration. If it was about any other criminal issue, then the police could involve. But I don't anticipate it's going to be signed. I voted with my Republican friends on a number of criminal justice issues. Scott Searway and I have compared notes and have worked together on a number of important issues. But I have major concerns about how the ICE process, whether it's complying with constitutional rights. I have concerns about people just getting deported to wherever and then coming back, having to come back. So I am concerned about the process, but I don't think the bill will be signed by the governor. In part because of the issue about how it was authored and that there are inconsistencies in the bill that could make it a problem to even interpret.
Well, thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
So, Troy, if people want to get involved in your campaign, what's the best way for them to get involved?
I definitely appreciate people wanting to get involved. That's obviously the biggest thing. I think the easiest way to just go to jacksonformaine.com. We got a link on there. We either donate or reach out to me or my campaign manager, Christine Kirby. We're running up down the state. If they're looking to have me go to an event or just want a question answered, they can send it there. There's phone numbers there to reach out and call us. Very accessible, and that's part of the whole thing for me. I'm running for governor. I want to hear what people are hoping for, would like to see in the next governor, and not only that, what their thoughts are. I spent 20 years knocking on doors, talking to people. And like Joe said, being a listener, I agree with 100%. I think listening is the best thing you can do to people. And that's where I got a lot of my best ideas. Probably the best ideas I had was from listening to people. So jacksonformaine.com gives you all the information that you'd like to have.
Before we let you go, are you going to have a spaghetti dinner fundraiser for Troy?
I think that's a great question. And probably before the primary, I'm probably going to do it at some point in 2026. We'll probably have a fundraiser for Troy in September this year. But the spaghetti supper, which is a fair amount of work, but it draws a good number of people, I think we'll do it at some point. We can work on a date in the spring. Those are always good events. They usually raise money actually for charities. We did Camp Capella, and we've done United Cerebral Palsy and some others. I did want to share with you, and I know that you knew my brother Jerry, who had worked for the Walsh family down at the Samoset for 20 years, and they have been so gracious. They put on a memorial service, had all the employees there really talk about Jerry. But we're going to be donating about $5,000 from his estate to various food pantries around the area because he served food, and I cooked with him many, many years. I worked in that restaurant 10 years before I went to law school. So there are a lot of stories right there. We could do a Netflix series or a sitcom on that, but we're going to be donating money to food pantries because that's an expression of serving food and helping people.
That's really nice.
And so that's just a way to honor him. And, I appreciate you allowing me to mention that.
That's a great
And
idea.
I'll give you more information later.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you were a little light on the meatballs.
Well, I just want you to know that when I've done so many spaghetti suppers with my brother John is a fiscal conservative because he goes, you pay for the meatballs. I'm not, that's too much sauce and spaghetti. So that was the fight I had with him. He's very conservative with the buck.
Well, speaking of serving, when we went to your last dinner, Troy, you were back there serving.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a good time. I mean, they got quite a production line going there, so I got a chance to learn right from the source. But I look forward to that.
That's a lot of fun.
It was, and I remember when John was governor coming up to Fort Kent and doing one long time ago. I don't remember what the event was, but obviously it was for charity back then too. So I've always appreciated the whole Baldacci family for what they've done for the people of the state of Maine and stuff like that. So I look forward to doing this and serving again.
That's great. I remember John had invited me several times to go to the county for the dog sled race.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Because they actually go on the dog sled. I said, I appreciate the invitation. But he didn't want to go alone, I think, was the issue.
Yeah, I remember seeing John because when you're on the dog sleds, they don't stop. You have to roll off, and I remember seeing John bouncing off. It was
No way.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
quite a sight.
Have you ridden on the sleds?
I have, yes.
Oh, wow. You roll off.
Yeah,
Huh?
and if you come up this year, you can be on them too.
Oh, I'd like to.
Yeah.
I actually would like to try that.
You should. Yeah, that would be fun.
They definitely will put you on. Yeah.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Well, there.
We didn't learn that in Bangor. So, it came as a shock when John got thrown off.
Oh, no. They just didn't want to tell him about that part.
Till later.
Yeah, learn as you go.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I want to say how much I enjoy just coming on and talking about the issues and going over. It's really great discussion, and I very much appreciate it. I look forward to talking with you guys more.
Absolutely. No, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm sure we'll see you again, Troy. Obviously, we'll have you back on.
Look forward to it.
Have fun out there on that campaign trail.
Yes.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
You've been listening to Q Point.
Follow us at qpointpodcast.com or on your favorite streaming app.
This is where you can get the news from the people who make the news.
Make sure to join us next time.
We hope you tune in.
Q Point Podcast invites candidates from all parties to join the conversation. The views, information, opinions, and comments expressed during this program do not necessarily represent those of the host, Q Point Podcast, associates, affiliates, and CQRE LLC.
Thanks for being a part of the conversation. Catch every episode at qpointpodcast.com or wherever you stream. Tune in and tell your friends.